welcome back to Steelers Chalk Talk. I'm Tantlinger. He is Mike McMahon. We're here every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Fox Sports Radio, Wheeling-Pittsburgh. Yeah, baby, we love the black and gold. We love the NFL, man. All right, it is time to talk the draft because I know a lot of you have opinions, but before we even do that, Mike has heard my rants for several years, and look, I don't want to come down too hard on him. He had a personal tragedy with his brother passing away via hit and run, and I'm not going to kick anyone when they're down. Stephon Tuitt, still on May 7th, 2022, has not told the Steelers whether he's coming back or not. And look, I'm all for giving him gravitas, but there's got to be a date, don't you think, Mike, where the Steelers say, hey, brother, we love you, we got your back, but out of respect for your teammates and this team, can you let us know by June 1?
I'm sure he could. I mean, but, you know, I guess they're trying to be sensitive towards the issue, and I think that's kind of like, I think teams and coaches are a little bit more sensitive to these issues that they have been in the past, especially with the way the world has gone with athletes coming out towards mental health. And so they're just going to, I think teams are afraid to put a deadline on it, and they're going to kind of tiptoe around it and let the player dictate that. Well,
look, you got to look at the $13.9 million salary cap hitting soon. And, you know, Tuitt has to respect the Steelers. They've got to respect him. But at the end of the day, you got to get back to coming up with a plan of attack to get to the Super Bowl in 2022. So, look, here's the thing with Tuitt. I think it's a personal decision, and God be with him as he tries to make it. But June 1st, you got to make your decision. Now, to get to the second level with Tuitt, and Mike has heard me rant about this before, I need more out of Tuitt. Tuitt should be as good, if not better, than Cam Haywood. I don't think we've seen the very best out of Stephon Tuitt. Now look, 2 years ago, he had something like 14 sacks, and I was still saying the same thing. And there was a reason he had 14 sacks. Mr. McMahon, do you want to tell the listeners at home why Stephon Tuitt had 14 sacks? There's a little guy playing to the left of him.
Yeah, TJ Watt.
Yeah. Right? Am I right or wrong?
And let me remind you, not only was there TJ Watt, but there was also Bud Dupree.
Yeah, coming off the other side.
Exactly.
The Nightmare Brothers, man. It was like Freddy Krueger and Jason lining up and going after linebackers.
You just give them a new nickname, like the old posters that they used to do. And
yeah, right? But unfortunately, Bud's gone now, so unless Highsmith turns into an absolute animal. But when Stephon Tuitt had his 14 sacks, I believe it was, a couple years ago, like Mike said, that's because it freed up him to make some moves. I mean, my God, Bud Dupree was flying off the right. Watt, we now, Defensive Player of the Year, Watt, may I say, was tearing it up, man. So, the fullback's got to pay extra attention to Watt. He's got to pay extra attention to Bud Dupree.
Tight ends are chipping. So it leaves him one-on-one with a guard.
Left Stephon Tuitt to be good, but not great. I will submit to you, Steelers Nation, he should have had 30 sacks that year.
That's a bold statement.
It's a bold statement, but when you got something like that, and don't forget, because I was grabbing you and throwing you around in some videos because I love the flying pumpkin, the pineapple, Tyson Alualu. What was he doing up the middle? He was literally manhandling centers. He was manhandling guards. So that left Stephon Tuitt on an island all by himself to perform. So 14 sacks. But I still don't think he has ever lived up to his greatest potentials, injuries aside. So, we'll find out. Go with God, make your decision, young man. And Steelers Nation welcomes Stephon Tuitt back if that's what he chooses to do with his career. All right, it's time to get on with this draft choice, Steelers Nation. A lot of you have opinions. You think, oh my God, the Steelers were all in. Look what they did in free agency. Look what they did in this draft. All right, well, let's talk about it. You know what? And I'm going to start last first before we even get to the kid out of my alma mater, the University of Pittsburgh. All right, so real quick, Mike, round number 7, they pick up Chris, the quarterback out of South Dakota State. Really unusual. Pick up Pickett in the first round. They pick up in the 7th round. These draft choices are not throwaways.
Yeah, I'm not so sure what the reasoning was behind. This guy wasn't. I don't believe he was on anyone's radar. I'm sure they could have probably picked him up via free agency, but clearly they saw something. Maybe they saw some speed. Maybe they think he's an athlete. Maybe they think he's a situation where they can kind of move him to a receiver position the way they did with Hines Ward and an Antoine Randall. And so if that's what their plan to do is, and work him along and use him as an athlete, like a Cordell Stewart, kind of just a pace changer, well then, we'll see what happens. I mean, it could be good. I will say this, a lot of times quarterbacks that are athletic in college that eventually make it over to the receiver position. You look at Antoine Randall, Hines Ward was a quarterback at one point. You look at Julian Edelman from the New England Patriots with Kent State.
Yep.
The reason why these guys are successful at receiver is if they're athletic enough, one, and they're fast enough, but two, it's they know how quarterback thinks, they know what he sees, and they can gear down into these zones and find these windows, as opposed to sometimes receivers, they'll just run the line on the playbook and just keep on running right through the window. Now a quarterback's like, hey, I see this linebacker coming this way. All I got to do is get into that first window and sit it down. And it definitely helps. So if that's what they're going to do, great. But I don't know enough about him. And I haven't heard. This was the first I've heard of him was when they announced his name on draft day.
Well, look, maybe Mason Rudolph's out of here. There ain't no way he's staying away unless Trubisky goes down in day 3 at camp.
No, they'll keep him.
And Kenny Pickett's hand breaks.
Well, it's going to be. I think they have Rudolph as a starter right now. Then Trubisky, and then
he's an ace in the hole.
But I think it's Mitchell Trubisky.
You say Trubisky, I say Trubutsky.
Trubisky.
Bitchkle. Botchky.
I say the Biscuit's going to be number 1.
Thing off.
The Biscuit will be number 1.
The Biscuit.
Pickett, eventually, I think, will take over number 2. They're not going to release Mason Rudolph. They're going to.
No, you know what's going to happen? Here's my prediction.
Stay, and then what they're going to do is they're going to bring on
Here's my prediction. Tua gets hurt again for the 700th time in his career down in Miami. The Dolphins call the Steelers because of Brian Flores trying to be nice, and they say, hey, we need a quarterback. What do you guys need right now? Okay, well, you give us Mason Rudolph. We'll give you the 3rd-round pick next year.
They're keeping him.
And that cornerback.
They're keeping him.
No, they're not. He's gone. Rudolph's gone.
Biscuit.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer couldn't throw a football to save his life.
So what if
you played with the other reindeer?
What happens if you do that, okay, at the end of training camp?
Then you got the kid out of South Dakota State.
He's not ready.
Yeah, well, look, that's the nuclear option. Trubisky's, the Big Biscuit's got to go down. Kenny Pickett's got to go down.
They've done this in the past. The Duck Hodges, they put him on the practice squad.
He retired this week. Do you see that?
No, but
the Duck retired.
They'll put this guy on the practice squad.
Okay, I believe that. But
and they'll keep
I think Rudolph...
Move on to the next one.
I think Rudolph's out of here, and I'm telling you right now, Kenny Pickett's a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph will ever be in the NFL.
What they should do, if they do try to trade Rudolph, they should trade him to Cleveland with his buddy Myles Garrett.
You're a sick, warped individual, Mike McMahon. I hate this pick. I loathe this pick. Probably the next 5 minutes of this segment's going to be me talking about... Hold on. Let me have a drink of this Sam Adams. Say something to the folks. Tell them what they're listening to. Tell them what they're listening to while I drink this. Tell them what... Steelers Chalk Talk.
No, just go.
Hold on.
Go on your rant. This poor kid's trying to live out his dream, and you're going to knock him down already.
I hope he turns into the next Brian Urlacher. I hope he's the greatest linebacker in Steelers history. But he's not. Round number 7.
More like London Fletcher, I would say. Not
even close.
Well, because
he's more like Randy Tantlinger playing linebacker at Pitt. How'd that work out for him?
I say London Fletcher because he's short.
Not even
he's
close.
Short in stature. He's not going to be Urlacher, but he could be a London
Mark
Fletcher.
Robinson, linebacker out of Ole Miss, round 7. Another wasted draft pick. God bless him. Mike's telling me he's living out his dreams. Great, good for him. But Mike knows where I'm going with on this.
So if you love the GM so much, and now you hate the last 2 picks.
Here's the thing.
Do you think he just took a dartboard and just started throwing it at the board at the end and we'll see which name pops up? Yeah, let's go with that one. Is that what you're telling me?
Here's the thing. And here we go. I have no idea who in the hell has been choosing these linebackers, okay, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But right now, I'll tell you this. Last year, All-Pro out of Green Bay, Devondre Campbell, 6'4", 230, okay? The other All-Pro linebackers last year that went into the Pro Bowl, okay? 6'3", 240, 6'4", 242, 230. Those are big men, okay? I need hybrid linebackers to play because it's a passing league that Mike Tomlin keeps telling us is a failed experience. You cannot, as the great Kenny Stabler said one time, we're calling an Alabama game. After Alabama got their ass kicked, his broadcast partner, like you or mine, Mike, said to him, well, Kenny, what do you think? Kenny Stabler said, you cannot make chicken salad out of chicken droppings. And that's what you got with linebackers like the kid out of Ole Miss, Mark Robinson, 5'11", 235. Mike, you know as well as I do, that means he's 5'10", and he's about 222, is what that stat means. Devin Bush.
Oh, they don't do that.
Devin Bush has stood beside me in interviews. I am wider than him, and I don't mean portly, okay? And I'm about the same height, if not an inch higher, and he was standing on cleats and I was in tennis shoes, okay? There is no way these little hybrid linebackers, and you've heard me talk about this, Spence, who they got off the bench in the first round against the Jaguars, ran all over him. These guys at 5'11", 5'10", inside linebackers. Joe Strawberry Sherbert last year, 4'2". When you got a 6'3", 6'4" offensive guard trying to blow a hole open for a running back,
low man wins. They're trying to help them.
With chicken droppings, as Kenny Stabler would say. Enough of this failed hybrid linebacker nonsense.
Okay, so you don't like the last 2 picks. Let's go on to the next one.
You're just tired of hearing me rant. Hey, you're listening to Steelers Chalk Talk on 1400 AM, Wheeling-Pittsburgh, Fox Sports Radio. I'm Tank Tantlinger. He is Mike McMahon. You're listening to Steelers Chalk Talk. As we close out this segment, how would you like to win a Mike Webster football jersey? I know they would, Mike. I know they would. Here's the deal. Go to Facebook. I know you can work the old Google machine. Find Facebook. Work the old computer. Put some oil in it. Type in Facebook. Steelers Chalk Talk. You'll see me, a picture of me. I'm the handsome one, Tank. You'll see this Sasquatch Bigfoot-looking thing beside me. You'll see our pictures there. Like our Facebook page. Like our YouTube page, too, please. Steelers Chalk Talk. At the end of the season, we're going to pick one of you who has liked our Steelers Chalk Talk Facebook page to win that Mike Webster jersey. Last year, we gave away a Jack Lambert jersey. This year, it is Mike Webster. All right, we're heading to commercial break. Mike and I will be back to talk Steelers draft. We're working through those low rounders. I like the quarterback, Mark Robinson of Ole Miss, the 5'1" linebacker. I wish you well. All right, we'll be right back. Steelers Chalk Talk.